What up, guys? Happy Friday. We're hopping on, hitting live. Hope you guys are shopping high horse for all your weekend cannabis medicine or even recreational cannabis use. And one of the things driving me bonkers lately is some of the negative media that's been pumping against cannabis, guys. And again, especially during evolutionary stages and election seasons, things tend to get polarized and kind of distorted. So it's my own personal rant. Anyways, shop high horse, baby. All our farm tree products are there 24/7, 365. Over here, Las Cruces, New Mexico, we got 2 stores at the Shack, and we got Maine, and we got 8 line stores, Hobbs, and Chaparral. But anyways, guys, good evening, esteemed viewers. It's a pleasure to welcome you to another enlightening episode of Your Pharmacist. Dr. Joaquin Acosta, your host and the dedicated CEO of Farm True, here to navigate the intricate world of health and wellness together with you. Tonight, we delve deep into the mysteries of the thyroid, a tiny gland with colossal impact on our well-being. From hyperthyroidism to hypothyroidism, we're uncovering the crucial insights that could revolutionize how we approach your health and how we make sure that you're approaching it. But our journey doesn't end there, guys. We're also exploring groundbreaking biosensor technology for digestive health. Beacon of hope for millions suffering from inflammatory bowel diseases or IBD, right? You see very many different types of things, Crohn's and things suffering all around there, guys. Gastrointestinal health is a place where, truly we can create a lot of outcomes, tertiary outcomes. You're seeing gut-brain health and some of this other stuff that's really starting to, come out there. It's just all things to consider. Imagine a world where steps taken are not just numbers, but milestones towards longevity, guys. Tonight we're going to discuss the real number of steps you need for a healthier life daily, right? Debunking perhaps long-held myths and empowering you with science-based facts. And we're going to definitely unpack, 10,000 steps a day. Is it a myth? Are there benefits to if you achieve anything less than 10,000 steps a day? We're going to kind of break down some different arguments and opinions made on the matter, right? The honey spot for steps a day, for sure, they say 10,000, but we'll show you guys other considerations as well. And in our Herbal Wellness Corner, we will tackle an unusual yet critical topic: the unexpected effects of THC on our canine friends. And this is going to be a weird segment, I'll tell you right away. This is something that came up in the medical world I just thought it was really funny. And so for some Friday humor, all thoughts and opinions in terms of selecting this in our Herbal Wellness Corner segment are my own, or High Horse Cannabis Company. It absolutely sponsors the Herbal Wellness Corner. But me today talking about how, if your dog ingested your feces and you had THC in it, your dog would get high, right? So, very interesting little study that apparently, happened, and we're going to talk about it, right, guys? Shining lights a little bit on the intertwining paths of humans and animals and health, and hopefully we don't go much farther than that. As we embark on this journey of discovery, I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to our sponsors, guys. Farm True, High Horse Cannabis Company, Bada Studio Park, and the Big Chicken Farm, for their unwavering support in our mission. So sit back, engage with us, and let's unravel these health mysteries together. Your participation and insights make this platform a vibrant community of learning and growth. Make a positive impact on health, one episode at a time. So, after I bore those of you with my NFL picks here at the end of this one, that's what we're going to be hitting in our Men's Health Minute. NFL playoffs, some are watching, some aren't, but I think it's fun to make picks. And, then in our Men's Health Minute, we're going to be hitting these picks at least on the playoffs on Fridays, guys. There's a social aspect to that. That is beneficial, and I believe in it. All right, guys, Thyroid Month, unpacking the mysteries of hyperthyroidism and hypothyroidism. A lot of people take thyroid medication, from the pharmacy perspective. Hypothyroidism, definitely much more common, guys. Does that mean underactive thyroid gland? Hypothyroidism, means that the thyroid gland can't make enough thyroid hormone to keep the body running normally. What is thyroid hormone and how is that tested for, guys? Looking for characteristic symptoms of what could be happening if you have hypothyroidism. You never know if you might have it in your family history, but again, it can also be kind of another side effect of other diseases as well, and chronic health issues that come along. So, you've ever had any changes in your health that suggest your body is slowing down, oftentimes thyroid will get looked at in there. When you look at, endocrine problems and things like that, thyroid is very easily, diagnosed and, easy to start supplementing with when you look at a complete metabolic panel, looking at your thyroid levels and, adjusting accordingly. Obviously, the thyroid stimulating hormone test is the important test there for hypothyroidism. It measures how much thyroid hormone or thyroxine, T4, the thyroid gland is being asked to make. Abnormally high TSH means hypothyroidism. So that's saying that the thyroid gland is being asked to make more T4 because there's not enough T4 in the blood. So, your body shouldn't have to be pushing so much out. It shows an imbalance there, right? And so most of the T4 that's actually in your blood is attached to a protein called thyroxine binding globulin. Bound T4 can't get into body cells. Only 1% to 2% of T4 in the blood is unattached or free and can get into cells. The free T4 and free T4 index are both, different blood tests that also show this. So, guys, doctors can get really specific, and patients can too when it, comes to thyroid replacement. I mean, when you're looking at T4 alone, you can be taking synthetic or natural thyroxine pills, right? Levothyroxine, very, very common generic that's out there. Again, there's like Armour Thyroid if you're going to be doing these swine-based or natural-based methods. Synthroid is the brand name, synthetic thyroid that some people opt for whatever reason. They say their body has the better effect on the brand, and it's been that way, for the entire amount of time. If you're one of those people, you obviously know what I'm talking about. But, I mean, very, very common hypothyroidism in a lot of people, especially when you see a lot of people with diabetes or, even sometimes like with menopause and things like that. Hypothyroidism is just one of those that is kind of a secondary or even sometimes like a tertiary outcome there. And, it's pretty easily manageable. It's not entirely reversible, but it is manageable. Other causes there that cause it would be like Hashimoto's. And not a lot of people have Hashimoto's, but that's, one of those they'll teach you in school. But let's talk a little bit about hyperthyroidism, guys. What is hyperthyroidism? What does it look like, right? I mean, definitely, if you have too much thyroid hormone, what can that mean? Increased sweating and feeling hot, feeling like your heart is racing or beating irregularly, hand tremors, anxiety, nervousness, irritability, weight loss despite normal or even increased appetite, frequent bowel movements or diarrhea, difficulty sleeping, hair loss, changes in menstrual periods, often lighter and less frequent, trouble swallowing or fullness in the neck, increased or decreased energy level, and pain behind the eyes and or swelling or bulging of the eyes. So, very, very different effects there than what's happening with hypothyroidism, right? What is the thyroid gland? It's a little butterfly, shaped gland located in the lower front of the neck, right? So, thinking butterfly, thinking thyroid, how does it entirely work? Well, that's, the basis of what's going on. It's producing thyroid hormone, to go into your endocrine system to, go and regulate pretty much homeostasis, right? And we can get into the physiological effects there, but really what I'm getting into right now is, talking about how most people have hypothyroidism, and they take, synthetic thyroids for it. Very, very common, very secondary, not always like a primary thing that is getting diagnosed, but easy to pick up in the labs. And, January is National Thyroid Month and Awareness Month. So for those of you, who might be looking to treat those kinds of things, like, good to look into, right? Have you had your thyroid checked in a while and your levels checked? If you're taking thyroid medication, are you taking it first thing in the morning, before anything else? Obviously, those who do take thyroid medication understand how that whole thing works. But again, it can be binding to calcium, iron, and will basically chelate and connect to all those, and again be rendered useless, as we had talked about. The binding of the thyroid there. So really, that free T4 is definitely ends up being a little bit different, and what the body can produce and get to based on things like chronic stress and inflammation, and or diabetes, high blood pressure, and all the gambit of things happening, as well as just the natural aging process. Thyroid is just one of those things that ends up getting treated. And National Thyroid Month, make sure you're current on all your lab work, and your thyroid is where it needs to be. It can always just be one of those odd ones that can be affecting not only mood but energy levels for sure, and want to get that in balance along with everything else when you think of homeostasis. I mean, regenerative medicine, you're looking at all of your vitamin levels, your hormone levels as a whole. That's all great stuff. Obviously, primary care, you're looking at your main, basically medical data points, right? Your heart rate, your respiratory rate, your family history, and making sure your risk is nice and maintained on top of your BMI and all those things. But looking at all, you can really set yourself up for success there by checking that out. Especially my people, in your that 30 to 60 range there, guys. You guys who that body starts slowly kind of not just being a machine anymore. That's where you can really, obviously, we start identifying those imbalances. Men were notorious for not getting our things checked. Men, I don't believe, suffer from hypothyroidism as much as women, but still things to consider there. So absolutely treatable, not entirely reversible, but you really look at getting doses down and getting things changed probably over a body of time. And if you really took up like diet and exercise, I'm sure you can look up arguments where you can get off of it completely, and diet modifications. But again, those are specific instances, and for general people who end up just having to take it, you do take it every day. And not taking it could be the reason people feel wacky sometimes, right? So, anyways, Hashimoto, Graves' disease, hypothyroidism, people, Thyroid Awareness Month, make sure all that's all taken care of. So definitely had to give a nod to that Friday, January 19th, baby. Let's move on to the next segment here, talking about biosensors and digestive health. This was a pretty cool thing, in our Tech Talk segment. I want to show you guys here. Excuse me. Shout out to the American Thyroid Association there, guys. Plenty of resources there for anybody who, ever needs any updated guidelines on, up-to-date stuff for thyroid treatment. Boom, boom, boom. But anyways, enough about thyroids. Let's talk about the gut.
A cloud-based e-signature service called Foxit eSign. He said that signing with Foxit.
It's estimated more than 7 million people in the U.S. and Europe will be diagnosed with inflammatory bowel disease by 2030. That digestive disease triggers abdominal pain, diarrhea, and anemia. And now lab research is focused on swallowing a bacterial biosensor that will pinpoint and transmit inflammation information. Say that 5 times fast in order to treat it more effectively. Marty Salt has the details.
These are genes that have evolved inside of bacteria that sense molecules in the gut that are linked to inflammation.
Rice University researchers plan to take advantage of that with a platform delivery system to insert into the bacteria. A capsule will deliver biosensors that monitor inflammation in the gut and transmit it to physicians for diagnosis of IBD. It's non-invasive and will transmit signals back to doctors regarding the patient's level of inflammation.
It took us about 2 years to find the first bacterial sensor. We were searching in bacterial genomes, analyzing their genes, discovering sensors of inflammation biomarkers, and then putting them back in bacteria and back in animals. You can think of a bacteria as like a little sphere.
The bacteria in the capsule have a little antenna outside the sphere that detects the molecule in the intestines.
The molecule will kind of float into the antenna, stick to it, and turn the antenna on. And what this does is transmits a signal across the bacterial membrane, across the sphere, inside the bacteria itself.
The bacterial sensors are connected to a green fluorescent protein, and the bacteria will glow green, pinpointing the IBD inflammation. The biosensors are retrieved from the stool.
We shine a blue light on them, and if they glow green, we know that they've seen inflammation.
Marty Salt, 16 News Now.
And human clinical trials are 3 years out, but researchers who understand gut bacteria is the key to a cure will use it to diagnose, eventually reducing the use of invasive tools like endoscopies and colonoscopies. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
I mean, at the end of the day, that is absolutely gnarly, right? I mean, who's not thinking of the magic school bus right there? Like, might as well put the little people in it. You know, there's so many different scenes of the magic school bus inside the small intestine, inside the stomach. You know, it's hilarious. Magic school bus inside the human body. And, you know, Miss Frizzle, she's down there in the GI, those biosensors. We're getting there, guys. It's all happening. So anyways, pretty cool technology. You know, we will see where that goes. I'm just, you know, showing some of that here on Friday afternoon. Guys, let's move on. So, you know, looking and unpacking here, scientists identifying the optimal number of daily steps for longevity, saying it's not 10,000, right? So here, according to the article, you know, talking about 10,000 steps, things like that. I will say right here, right now, my number one, you know, strong pharmacist recommendation, if you could get 10,000 steps in a vacuum every single day, go get it. You know, go make it happen. I think it's an absolutely fantastic idea. You know, all the residual compounding, you know, positive effects that happen if you are actually able to pull off, you know, one specific goal there. The number is showing you're just going to have less body weight. You know, you're going to have all the positive associated mental health effects, you know, chronic inflammation, sleep, all that is going to be, you know, all of a sudden you're going to be looking at that, you know, in a much different light for sure. So, you know, knowledge to you before we even start reading this. If you have a, you know, smartwatch or even your phone, take a look at how many steps you average over the last 2023. You know, just curious. So go check yourself out, see maybe in more months you were taking more steps, more months less steps. You know, how can you maybe take a little bit more steps in those months? You know, either way, more steps is what most people definitely need at the end of the day. You know, before I even kind of like unpack the article and some of the science that it's trying to talk about here. But, you know, for those with a sedentary lifestyle, and according to the article, 10,000 steps can be, you know, difficult to maintain. And according to the article, it's also wrong, certainly wrong that, you know, that's the conventional way to a long and healthy life. Here it's saying by analyzing data on tens of thousands of people across 4 continents compiled between 15 existing studies, a team of researchers landed on a more comfortable figure. According to them, the optimal figure is probably closer to 6,000 steps a day, depending on age. So, you know, anything more is unlikely to further reduce your chances of stumbling into an early grave. So what we saw, you know, was this incremental reduction in risk as steps increase until it levels off. University of Massachusetts Amherst epidemiologist Amanda Pollack said when the study was released in March 2022. The leveling occurred around different step values for older versus younger adults. Humans are essentially built to ambulate. Evolution has honed our physiology to walk long distances, shedding heat easily as we tick-tock back and forth like inverted pendulums across the landscape in search of food and water. Now, this means our metabolism, cardiovascular fitness, impact on our bones and muscles, and even our mental health are all tuned to appreciate a good hike. Right? Squeezing out just about any type of stroll into our busy schedule serves us well, helping us live longer, healthier, happier lives, right? Anyways, easier said than done. We started January, I believe, 15th, 16th. One of those is your biggest give up day for the year, where most New Year's resolutions go to die. And so, we're talking about this kind of year, and maybe you had 10,000 steps a day as a goal, and maybe you weren't even thinking about it at all. But maybe your goal is to lose weight. Maybe your goal is to fix some chronic pain. I'm telling you, this is one of those numbers that really might change your life, especially if you take a look at your current numbers and see that they're not even anywhere near 10,000 steps a day. If they're not even anywhere near 6,000, I would say use this as data to consider 6,000 steps a day as, you are able to hit 10, let's go for 6 if you're averaging 2,000 to 3,000 steps a day, right? Or 4 even. Let's just try to average that 6, because it's definitely going to be a change, right? Which isn't bad, but small habits are good. Not everybody can just start walking to work every single day, or doing all those things. Really looking at how much time it takes to achieve 10,000 steps a day, especially if you're not going to jog it, you're going to be spending more time. Anyways, story behind this: half a century ago, the Yamasa clock and instrument company in Japan sought to cash in on the buzz left by the 1964 Tokyo Olympics by producing a pedometer called the Meito-K. I don't speak Japanese, so I don't know if I said that right. But anyways, it's a word that translates into 10,000 steps. Why 10,000? Good old-fashioned marketing. It's a nice round number that sounds taxing enough to be a goal, but achievable enough to be worth striving for. What it doesn't have going for it is any scientific backing. Having a single figure to promote the general population is certainly useful. Such a clear communication tool messaging, but getting the number right can make the difference between encouraging everybody to get enough exercise and putting people off trying altogether. So I do agree with that. Maybe for some people that goal, it just doesn't kind of fit the window very well, right? Personalized medicine is a thing, and personalizing things is definitely just absolutely what this whole entire thing is all about. So I like that part, right? And so when we're talking about what works for you and things like that, definitely makes more empathetic and reasonable in terms of being basically smart, measurable, achievable, realistic, time-driven goals, smart goals. Like you want to think how to get somebody set up for success, and especially if you can personalize that container by lessening that steps per day, and just still understanding the value that you're going to get, versus kicking yourself in the rear saying, well, I'm not going to get my 10,000 steps a day, I ain't even going to move today, I'm going to be a couch potato today. So worth considering, right? But in 2021, Pollock and her team published research based on a cohort of more than 2,000 middle-aged individuals living across the U.S. They found taking at least 7,000 steps a day here reduced chances of premature death by 50 to 70%. Those words are doing some heavy lifting, with questions remaining over whether better and whether squeezing all those steps into a more rapid pace in any way is useful. The team widened their net to include previously published research. So after they did that, they looked at a 2022 meta-analysis, including information collected on the health and step counts of 47,471 adults from Asia, Australia, Europe, and North America. They found 25% of adults who stepped the most each day had 40 to 53% lower chance of dying compared to those in the bottom 25% of step counts. Adults age 60 and older, this reduced risk topped out at around 6,000 to 8,000 steps a day. Pushing further may have other benefits, but a reduced chance of death is not one. So, they're looking at the outcomes there, right? Quality of life, things like that. So if you're trying to theoretically go with the numbers of reducing the chance of death, a lot of people could probably commonly relate to that, right? So that's a decent number to kind of work around. So they found that those who are younger could do well to walk a little more, but there wasn't evidence saying that they'd necessarily live longer by walking more than 8,000 to 10,000 a day. As for the rate of the steps, the team found that volume is really what matters. Major takeaway: there's a lot of evidence suggesting that moving even a little is more beneficial, particularly for those who are doing very little activity, guys. Basic physics takes you back 100 years ago. Object in motion stays in motion. Object at rest tends to stay at rest, guys. Our bodies are just as much susceptible of that, made up of millions and billions of cells, right? We got to keep those all working in the right thing. So anyways, 6,000, 8,000 steps, guys, that's a more achievable number for a lot of people, especially if you hear me speaking and preaching on 10,000. You're like, that's not for me. So therefore, I'm not going to move and do anything. Let's change 2,000 and make 6,000 a goal. And you could really think about reducing your risk of death if you're having 6,000 to 8,000 steps a day by, maybe 40 to 50%, guys. Especially if you're not there. And my challenge: check your step count on your phone or your smartwatch for sure. You can definitely find them. All right. So, Herbal Wellness Corner. It's kind of weird. I'm smiling, but I like this one. It's pretty funny, guys. Cannabis news. Sometimes this comes on different places, and shout out to my pharmacist community, especially on LinkedIn. If anybody picks some of the best articles to dissect, guys, it's healthcare providers, other healthcare providers. Not always a business that's just pumping its own, stuff. When you see in big pharma, right? But anyways, independent healthcare providers out there just cherry picking things and laughing at them or whatever, having opinions on them. Sometimes it's peak hilarious. But this one, guys, this one gets me. You see that there? Dogs can get high from eating stoner's poop. So, anyways, this article, I picked it because I think it's hilarious. It has nothing to do with the fact that High Horse Cannabis Company is the sponsor of our Herbal Wellness Corner. But this, is still pretty interesting and hilarious, and I get the comical, return here that Cody Peterson, a pediatric pharmacist, put here. But his post is shouting this guy out when goes pot. Dogs getting high from human feces. So literally, listen to this. What do you think if you saw your dog eating a steamy pile of human poop? Personally, I'd be repulsed since I kiss my dog all the time. This study, looking at reports from 2011-2020, describes 15 cases of dogs in Melbourne, Australia, who experienced marijuana cannabis toxosis, aka got stoned, likely from ingesting human feces containing THC. Previously unreported before 2022, dogs can get high from THC in human feces after cannabis users consume it. How? Well, they got high just like you and me, except the edible was not so edible. THC and 11-hydroxy-THC, both the psychoactive components, can be excreted via feces. So the dogs are eating the same things that make the cannabis edibles hit so hard. I'm just, wow. How does this even happen, right? So anyways, the dogs, the outcome is got high, very high. And how do we know? Some common signs include wobbly legs, hyperactivity, oversensitivity, incontinence, or peeing where they shouldn't, and disorientation. How do we know they ate human poop? In some cases, the owners saw it happen. Melbourne, Australia seems like a pretty, civilized place. So I don't understand, In some other cases, urine drug tests confirmed THC presence in 8 out of 8 dogs tested. Only 8 were tested. In other cases, owners noted vomit filled with feces, toilet paper, and other telltale signs that the dog ate poop. We all know dogs eat poop, right? This is not new news. Were the dogs okay? Yes. Supportive care like fluids were effective, and all dogs recovered fully. So it doesn't seem like any animals were quite harmed in the making of this study. Anyways, overall, the study highlights an unexpected accident that can cause cannabis toxosis in dogs, toxicosis. Better not ever know that this would ever happen to a human. Anyways, emphasizing the importance of responsible waste disposal. Keep in the toilet, right? Unless maybe you're camping, maybe that's fine. but come on, guys. So, vet owners or vet professionals, dog owners, guys, take note of that. It can be a thing. It is kind of hilarious. Some of the commentary, it's, oh man, it's a lot, but we'll leave that there. Yeah. Friday humor, a little humor, and other than that, tomorrow, guys, there's an in-person, oh no, not tomorrow, excuse me, next week. In-person Narcan training with the county. So Doñana County, cool stuff in our community spotlight brought to you by the Big Chicken Farm, talking about substance abuse use prevention. I know it feels like Narcan is super available and super easy to get, but those of you who may actually really do need to dial in on a training on how to administer Narcan, or how it should be used, really this is going to be a good one. They're going to take the actual time to go over the entire course, understand, prevent, recognize, respond, with Narcan, January 23rd. That is next Tuesday, 11:30 morning. So cool stuff. Then there's Zoom trainings, but that's not until next month. So shout out to the city, the county for that. I like that Narcan is pretty usually readily available. Pharmacies, if they have it, oftentimes can get those for patients. But again, if you can really get it like quick and from one of these public health places too, and actually get trained on how to use it, an hour and a half is definitely more time than you're going to get from any community pharmacist on how to train on Narcan. And somebody in the room with you to train always is even that much more perhaps value add, rather than going online and looking at a YouTube video or whatever it may be. But the more people that know how to use Narcan and why it's out there, and the more people that have it in their homes and shelves and the right places, guys, that's all good stuff. So I put that in the comments. Last, Men's Health Minute. Going on this weekend? Well, we got games, NFL games, maybe. So we got our picks this weekend, divisional playoffs. I got the Texans over the Ravens, the Niners over the Packers. I'm taking the Bucs over the Lions and the Chiefs over the Bills. I'm just going. I think I would say obviously the Texans and the Bucs are going to be my probably my unders there in terms of who's supposed to be winning those games. But the Chiefs probably just a better team overall 9 times out of 10. The Bills, don't get me wrong, can definitely get it done. Maybe the Bills will be frustrated by kind of the way their season topped off, but I really see the Chiefs kind of just executing, right. The bigger story there, they're doing it for Taylor Swift and they're going to go all the way. I'm just kidding. But anyways, so I like the Lions are going to fight. So that's going to be hard for the Bucs, but it's just interesting to see Baker Mayfield kind of starting to peak at the right time, considering he has all of Tom Brady's old weapons. Like, that's pretty insane there. So there's a lot of veteran playoff experience there that could easily get, peaking at the right time. And the Lions had to leave it all out there last week to beat LA. So I think the Buccaneers kind of gave it to Philadelphia, and it wasn't that much of an energy effort. So they might be, personal opinion, kind of a little bit better to just hit the ground running here versus the Lions, who could be just a little bit more physically exhausted and little less experienced, but they want it, and I want them to have it. So I'm sad one of these two teams has to leave, just because the stories behind them, both awesome. Anyways, Men's Health Minute, watch the football and talk about it with your friends and family. It's good for not only, mental, but there's other great profound effects of being a sports fan as well. So enjoy it healthily. And if you're going to, eat the chicken wings on Sunday and do all that, sure, it's all good. But maybe try to get some steps. 6,000 we said today if you don't get anything less. But other than that, guys, we'll see you guys Monday.